Welcome back, everybody. I am DJ Riley, one of the hosts from Boys on the Bench, and I'm back with my top 5 NBA picks for these Tuesday matchups. Now, before we jump into them, as always, a recap from yesterday. We did end up going 2-3 on our bets yesterday. I made 4 picks. Jimmy Butler was one that did not play. He was kind of a late scratch within about an hour of tip-off, but Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum both hit their lines. Both of them got started like a little bit late. Their first half was a little bit sketchy, but they turned it on late, ended up figuring it out. Anthony Davis, on the other hand, was hot the entire game. So his rebounds plus assists needing to go under 17 and a half did not happen, did not even get close. So that was a little bit disappointing there. So anyways, though, before we also jump into this, we went 5-6 over the last 2 days. We've been using the same process of using Daily Grind Fantasy and then also checking it with Props.Cash to see what kind of historical data we are getting from there. Both of those links can be found down below, with Daily Grind Fantasy being a positive EV betting tool, again, that we will be using today. See what other sportsbooks are offering as opposed to what PrizePicks is giving us. And then again, we'll be checking it with that Props.Cash app. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop over here to PrizePicks, where we can see my top 5 picks for today. Starting at the top is Franz Wagner going over 26.5 PRA. Jaren Jackson Jr. going over 2.5 assists. Tyrese Halliburton going over 29.5 points plus assist. Josh Hart going under 13.5 points. And then James Harden going over 28.5 PRA. So we hop over here to Daily Grind Fantasy. The first pick we had was Franz Wagner going over 26.5. We can see up here, this is one of the better plays that we have today. A second listed play that we have for today. Over 26.5. We can see every single sportsbook is offering this at 27.5, which is absolutely crazy, giving us that 1 point edge, which is why it's at 54.65% hitting. Now, if we hop over here to Props.Cash and we are looking for this Franz Wagner play, we can see that the projections are coming in at 28, roughly, we'll call it 28.5. We're getting it at 26.5, not the 27, which is roughly a 2 point edge. So if we click into this, we can see that his head-to-head matchups, he's only played them one time this season and easily cleared this line by 34. If we look at his last 10, though, he hasn't been playing too well. Let's fix this to 26.5. He hasn't been playing too well, though, hitting only 3 out of his last 10. If we look at kind of how he's been performing, though, we can see that his minute usage is kind of taking a little bit of a dip here. We usually see him playing around that 32 to 34 minute mark, and you can see that he's hit that only really 3 times over his last 10 games. So his minute usage is taking a little bit of a dip. Potential assists, he's only sitting around that 5.5 assist mark. He's not a really high assist guy, but what I really like is his field goal attempts. We can see him taking 13 field goal attempts per game, roughly making 50% of them. We can look at his field goal percentage here. He's hitting a roughly 49% average there. 3-point percentage kind of mid here. But if we look at kind of how he performed versus this Golden State team in their most previous matchup, if we scroll down here, we can see here that, again, we saw his field goal attempts go up to 19, made 10 of them. So again, he's still shooting around that 50% mark. 3-point percentages, 3-point attempts, he only shot 5, made 1. So again, he's not really a big 3-point percent or shooter, but he is able to make them from deep. So rebounds, if you look here at rebounds, he only had 6 in that game, which was enough to clear it in that line for him, had 25 points. So right now, all the books are projecting a lot of the same, giving us really that over 26.5 with him coming in at 27 here. So I really like that play for him today. But if we hop back over here to PrizePicks, see what we're getting. Jaren Jackson going over 2.5 assists. Let's see what Daily Grind Fantasy is giving us. That play dropped all the way down here to over 2.5 assists. We're still getting it at pretty good odds at 54.09%. All these books are still having it around the same at 2.5 right here, but you can see that they're heavily favoring it. The lowest juice that we're getting is 132, and all of these are minus really 135, an average juice of minus 138. Now, if we hop over here to Props.Cash, see what we're getting. Assist, they have his projections coming in at 3.73 with that line at 2.5, giving us that 1.23 edge here. So if we look at head-to-head, and how he's done versus this Lakers team, he hasn't had a ton of assists, but we can see here that this Lakers team is giving up a ton of assists. In all of the NBA, they allow the 4th most. Over his last 10, though, we can see where he really kind of take a shift in his game, where he's now hit this in 4 out of his last 5 and 5 out of his last 7. right? So let's look at his potential assists and how he's done. Minute usage, he's still playing a ton of minutes. He even hit it in this game versus Denver, played very low minutes at 26. We can see his minute average being at 33.7. Potential assists, right? He's been really capitalizing. He's now had at least is averaging 6.5 potential assists a game, and we're really only needing him to hit 3, which is very good because typically that number is around that 4 to 5 mark, meaning that he would have to hit nearly every single assist. So now that it's kind of, we're starting to see it take a little bit of a jump here, is really good for us. So again, assist wise, let's see how they rank to his position here as well. They're kind of middle of the pack, nothing too special, nothing too great at all, but we are getting really good odds from Daily Grind Fantasy coming in at that 54.1% that we have there. But let's hop back over here to PrizePicks, see what our next pick is, and that is Tyrese Halliburton going over 29.5 points plus assists. Now, if we hop over to Props.Cash and see what we're getting, we are looking at their head-to-head matchup. He has hit this in 4 straight games versus Chicago, but has only played 3 games versus this team this season, but has hit in every single one of these. Look at his last 10. He's only hit this in 5 out of his last 10. But 2 out of his last 3. So he's been playing very well here recently. The Chicago team gives up a ton of assists. And if you know Tyrese Halliburton, you know he is just kind of an assist king, right? So they allow the 8th most assists in all of the NBA. What I really like is if we look at his potential assist here, it kind of took a little bit of a dip. He's only hit over 20 potential assists in 2 out of his last 10 games. But if we look at how he's done versus the Chicago team this season, the 3 games, we go back down here to a potential assist. He's hit over 20 and 27 in back-to-back versus the Chicago team. So if this line does take a little bit of a bump here, just because we're getting really good positive EV value odds, that is what I am riding with. And let's look at his field goal made here before I go over that. So field goals made in those games, right? He's only kind of averaging, 30? So 46. So yeah, I mean, he's really only averaging about that 15 mark over his last 3 games for them. But he's getting really high assist totals. So again, if this line bumps down, I really like his assists. We can see here that his potential assist numbers are high, and he's hit this line very easily versus them. They're saying that this line is currently at 11.5. So feel free to take this. I absolutely love this play as well. But again, we're getting crazy positive EV value odds on this 29.5 points plus assists. So really like that play there. But let's go back to PrizePicks and see what we got next. That's Josh Hart going under 13.5 points. If we hop back over here to PrizePicks, we look for Josh Hart points under 13.5. We're getting a 54.27% odds to hit with minus 141 juice. So we can see here all of these books, really, except for this one, is coming in at that 12.5. And even the book that's offering it at 13.5 has given it a minus 150 odds to hit the under, which is absolutely crazy. Again, indicating that this is giving us a 54.3% chance of hitting today. So hop back over here to Props.Cash, see what we were getting for Josh Hart. Bump this up to 13.5 here. It was at 12.5. Look at how he's done head-to-head versus this Toronto team. Has had 3 matchups, has hit in 2 out of their 3 matchups this year. Most recent one being in January 20th, and he only scored the 10 points. Now let's look at how he's done kind of field goal attempts. He's only shot at most 11 field goal attempts versus this team, and their most recent matchup kind of had that 5. So he's not a big-time shooter, and that's kind of how it speaks over his last 10. He now has not hit this line in 6 straight games. And if we look again at his field goal attempts, we can see here, really, over that span, the most that he shot was 18, and he still didn't hit that line, only making 5 of those. So again, I expect a lot of that today. I don't expect his field goal attempts to spike all of a sudden here. Recently, this New York Knicks team is starting to get a little bit healthier. I know Randall is still out and Anunoby is still out, but they are starting to get a little bit healthier. His minute usage is still going to be high. He's not a shooter. He's a rebounder. You could have gotten really good rebounding odds on Josh Hart today. That play came in at 57, but PrizePicks acted pretty quickly today and completely removed the play entirely. But they did have this play still up on his points to go under 13.5 points. But let's go back over here to PrizePicks. Last play that I have for you is this James Harden over 28.5 PRA. Let's see what we're getting from Daily Grind Fantasy. We can see here it's another 54.22% chance of hitting, going over 28.5 PRA. Every single book over here is offering this at 29, giving us a 1-point edge, which is fantastic. Going back over here to Props.Cash, looking at his PRA, we can see James Harden here. We're getting it at 28.5. They're offering it just over 30, so giving us roughly a 1.5 point edge today. So if we look at kind of his last matchup versus the 76ers team, he did just clear this by a point and a half. We need to have 28.5. He got 30, so just cleared that for sure. But looking at his last 10, he's been absolutely dominating, hitting this in 7 out of his last 10 games. This Philadelphia defense is very good versus points. They are top 10 in points allowed. Rebounding's not too well. Assists is top 10, but it is James Harden. He's a very high assist total number guy. So if we look here, James Harden, again, his minute usage kind of levels out. It's all in those mid to high 30s. Potential assists, though, we can see his potential assist numbers average around that 15, which is really, really good. Usually, if you can see, right, I mean, that's just, it's high in assist numbers, which again, 15.2 assists, and he's converting it at such a high rate, getting roughly 10 assists a game. And those are even versus very hard defenses, right? And that was in that most recent matchup versus that Philadelphia team. He had 22 potential assists, got 14 assists, right? Even though they are a top assist team, right? I think that speaks volumes of how good he is, right? Field goal attempts, he's not really shooting a ton here recently, only averaging really 12 field goal attempts per game, but he's still making them at a high rate, right? 41% of his shots, 42% of his shots are going in. Okay. So anyways, I do like this play today going over 28.5. We can see James Harden here has been very, very dominant here recently. And he's hit this line in their one matchup versus Philadelphia, which was just the other day ago, where he had very high assist numbers. Now, again, that was a very similar play to what I just mentioned with Tyrese Halliburton. If that assist line changes, look at this. We're getting at 8.5 assists. He had 14 assists in that game. And if we look at how he's done over his last 10, 6 out of his last 10. So you're getting very good odds here. They're also indicating here that this book is likely to go over. We're getting some pretty good value, minus 120, minus 130 over several sports books. So very good plays here. But anyways, though, these are my top 5 picks that I have for you today. Make sure you're checking the comments below for some of those replacement bets, because those have been hitting like crazy as well. Make sure you're also checking out that X profile. All of those picks are posted there, 100% free. Don't feel like you have to stress out about them. But anyways, let's have a great day today, and I will see y'all tomorrow.